Aye, shepherd's pie. Greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for a walk and a talk. Going to talk about something today which, as I'll probably say in the thumbnail, the secret to happiness in the Philippines. Because I have come to the conclusion, having observed relationships over here, having lived here for nearly 2 years, which some people will say it's not long, you don't know, you haven't been there, you know. Okay, well, this is my opinion. And it's not going to be a eureka moment. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel with this observation, because sometimes the most logical conclusions are the most obvious. So I have come to the conclusion that the key to happiness in the Philippines is a good woman, a loving relationship. Now, I'm not talking about myself here. I'm basing it on my observations. I am not for 1 second saying I have a good woman in Ellen. I think I do. I'm not saying we have a perfect relationship. I am saying that having observed people over here, my circle of friends, the people I meet on a daily basis, by far the happiest are in good long-term relationships. They have, in a way, found the right partner for them. I'm going to turn the camera around now because it's a beautiful day. And because they found the right partner for them, they're happy. It reflects in their way of life. It reflects in their attitude. It reflects in the things they do. Now, why am I talking about this today? Because it is the key to happiness, in my opinion. So it's damned important that you get it right. Now, I know there will be some people who disagree. Everyone's got their own opinions. There will be some guys who are confirmed bachelors, who have no interest in being in a relationship because they like to play the field. They are players. Well, power to them. You can do that here. I'm sure you can do that in Angeles City. You know, I know a couple of guys over here. Well, I used to know 3. That's their attitude in life. That's what they do. You know, they get with as many women as they can. But I don't necessarily think that they're the happiest guys I know over here. In fact, I know they're not. And one of them's gone. One of them left after a year. Because I think that wears thin. And if that is what you're looking for, I think Thailand's probably a better bet for you. Because a relationship over here makes and breaks things. You know, lots of people come over here, they rush into a relationship because they have this dream, they've had an LDR or whatever, and it goes tits up. And a large percentage of them end up leaving. Upset, bitter, twisted, heartbroken, because it went wrong. So that's why I'm making the video today. I'm going to suggest to you that the most important thing you can do over here is do your due diligence and not rush into a relationship. Because I will get comments, you always get comments on the videos, people saying, yeah, she's only after this, they want money for this, wait until she does that, etc, etc, etc. Because I think 99% of these guys are basing it on their own experiences. Because it happened to them. The relationship didn't work. Now, 99% of these guys will say it was all her fault. Sometimes it will have been. Sometimes it will have been the guy. But the point is, it happened because they chose the wrong partner. As simple as that. They both were in. Maybe it wasn't a bad relationship at the start. But no, it depends. Every relationship will be different. But the point is, they didn't choose the right partner. They didn't take the time to find out if they were right for each other. Look at this cow. This is a fine cow. It's a big cow. I'm going to give it a wide berth. Hello. So yeah, you know, me personally now, Ellen is probably the reason I'm in the Philippines. Now, that's not because, like, you know, I'm sad and, you know, I'm worried about I couldn't find another girlfriend somewhere else or anything like that. No, what I'm saying to you is me, having been here for a couple of years now, I don't think I would want to live here as a single guy. It wouldn't be for me because it is a challenging place to live. And I would not be able to cope with those challenges if I wasn't in a relationship, if I wasn't with Ellen. Because there would be times when you get the brownouts and the internet goes down and things like that. If I was by myself, I'd be saying, screw this, I'm back to Thailand or I'm off to Vietnam or something like that. You know, it is the relationship that makes the Philippines enjoyable. For me. And I'm sure that's the same for the vast majority of guys over here who are living a happy life. Because Dumaguete, I love Dumaguete, you know, because of the expat circles, because of the social life. Well, that wouldn't happen, that wouldn't be the beauty of Dumaguete if there weren't so many expats here of a certain disposition, which I like. They're here, the vast majority of them, because of their wives and their girlfriends. Because they come from the area, because they're from Negros, most of the time. They have come here in a pursuit of a relationship. They have found the right person, and a community has sprung up, evolved from that. And I think it's a nice community. That's what I like about what I like about Dumaguete. That's why I've stayed. I like the community. I like the people I've met. I'm happy with Ellen. Not because of the Philippines or Dumaguete per se. If you want a single life, I think Thailand's probably better for you. When I was living in Jomtien, I knew a lot of confirmed bachelors, a lot of single guys who had no interest in relationships and just wanted to do what you do in Pattaya, stroke Jomtien. But I don't think many of them were that happy. There was always drama there. There was always crisis. There was always emotion. It could be a stressful place to live for a lot of people there. You know, they call Dumaguete Dramaguete, but by God, it's nothing compared to Pattaya when you talk about drama. So, I think when you come here, if you're planning on staying here a long time and you want a happy life, my advice would be, make sure you get the relationship right. Make sure you get it right. You know, the house building and the land and the things you're going to consider. You know, a lot of people think they're going to do this when they buy a car. You know, they spend time researching other models and, you know, considering things. You should do the same in terms of a relationship, because there will be a good woman for you over here, or a good man if you're that way inclined. Or I have some women who are viewers, which I'm very grateful for. Not many, but you know, they're thinking of moving here. It would be the same thing. Find a good man, because if you get that wrong, you're going to have problems. The Philippines can be an incredibly unforgiving place, in the sense that if you're not happy in a relationship, it's unlikely you're going to be happy in the Philippines. Because I do know I have got some friends over here who are single, who have been in bad relationships, who have sworn never to go back to them. And they spend their days in bars, drinking, going out and spending the days drinking slow beers in particular bars, talking, generally complaining about women. Now, I'm not being judgmental here. I'm not saying, you know, that's not a great life. I'm saying I don't get the impression when I talk to them, and some of them are good friends, I'm not digging anyone out here, I do not think they are particularly happy in life. You know, a lot of people say they're going to come here and they're going to stay single. They're going to get a carer or whatever if they're of a certain age. You know, I'm not saying don't do that. You know, if you've got a lousy life, if you are struggling to make ends meet in the West, then you will potentially find a far better life in the Philippines. It will be better than your previous life in your Western country. But it doesn't mean you're going to be truly happy here. One of my biggest regrets in Thailand was I went from a long 5-year relationship. I should have stayed single, but it's difficult to stay single in Thailand. It's difficult to stay single in the Philippines because women, you are a bit of a catch here. So you will get approached, you will have offers, you will, you know, it's just a reality of life. And I made the mistake of, when I split up with my first girlfriend, within 2 months I was in a relationship with another one, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have stayed single. I should have played the field for a while. And you can do that in Thailand. That's what I'm saying. I think the key, the Philippines is different. You know, there's not so much going on here. It is a Christian country. You know, they're into the long term. It's different to Thailand. Thailand's a Buddhist country. So, I'm waffling here now, aren't I? The point I'm making is, I think I've already made it. You know, the key to happiness, the happiest people I have observed, as I said, I'm not talking about myself, the happiest people I observed are in long-term relationships with the right woman. There are a couple of guys I know here, good friends, who had terrible relationships, split up, but they're now in long-term relationships with a different person, and they're happy. And for both of them, say the key to happiness is their relationship. They have found the right partner. You know, a lot of people will say over here you need to have X amount of money and you can't have a good life in the Philippines unless you've got a lot of cash and all the rest of it. As I said many times, I know some guys over here with a lot of money. I know some guys on very limited budgets. But if you ask me who was the happiest, who had the best life, it'd be the two guys on limited budgets. Because they got a lot of friends, they're happy, they go out, they socialise, they're leading a great life. They don't need the fancier things in life. But the key to their happiness is, I believe, 60% of it, at least 70% of it, is the partner they're with. As I say, this is not like, you know, some eureka moment. Probably just stating the obvious. But if you agree with the observation, or you can consider the observation as potentially being correct, you've got to make sure you make the right choice. You've got to be realistic with your expectations. Because if you don't make the right choice, marry in haste, repent at leisure. You know, they're wise words. You know, if you have a huge age gap, and I know, I know I have an age gap relationship, but as I've said many times, I think myself as a young 50, and yeah, it's a 20+ year age gap. I'm talking about a 40-year age gap. I'm talking about chaps who are in their 70s plus, who are with someone in their early 20s. Now, there is nothing wrong with that if it works. I'm just suggesting, and it can work. I know some people who are in fantastic relationships with a big age gap, who are very happy. Some of the happiest people I know are in that situation. But the point is, the odds are against you. You know, the odds are against you. If you're going to come here to the Philippines, you've been in an LDR, and your intention is to marry her straight away, then you're taking a big risk. The odds are against you. Not saying you're a fool for doing that. I'm saying it might be construed as foolish. If you are of a certain age and you jump straight into a relationship with someone who's 2 or 3 times younger than you, you are taking a risk. You are taking a gamble. You are less likely, statistically, in my humble opinion, without any empirical evidence, to find happiness in a relationship like that over time. But let's be honest, if you're in that age group, you probably haven't got that long. You know what I mean? So you might find happiness, you know, you might have 4 or 5 good years together. You might have 10 years together, who knows? You know what I'm saying to you? Yeah, I'm waffling here now. I'll bring this to an end shortly. But that's my observation here. It really is. You know, it's the Philippines, I think, is a couple's place. It is not, to me, from what I've seen, a singles destination. Not if you're going to be truly happy. Now, there will be some, I say, this is not a one-size-fits-all. There were always exceptions to everything in life. There will be some confirmed bachelors out there. There will be some people who are truly happy with their own company. They like to read a good book. They like to fucking have a coffee and, you know, do whatever, go for a stroll in the morning or whatever. Well, power to them. But that is not the majority of people. I found out very quickly when I was living here, if I was going to stay single, I would get bored. You know, all this business of going out, you know, banging as many women as you can and all that. You know, I've done that, been there, done that. I didn't get married, my second marriage. My first marriage, won't even talk about that. It was very, very short. But I went through a 10-year period where I was single in the UK, and I loved it. I was very happy, I thought. And eventually I settled down, I got married, and I was happier in that marriage. And because I had those 10 years of being single and travelling and doing what I wanted to do, I've got it out of my system. You know, I'm not interested now in you know, staying single and just being a player. But that's just me. But what I'm saying, the reason I'm talking about that is nothing wrong with people, that's their lifestyle, that's what they want. I don't think the Philippines is the place for that, to be honest with you. I think Thailand, Cambodia even, is better for that. I mean, you get yourself over to Siem Reap. One of my friends is subscribed, Radham's there at the moment. And I lived there for a couple of years. You put it all together, and it's fine. You know what I mean? You'll get a lot of back. I mean, the Kumar women are quite conservative, but Pub Street, you've got a lot of backpackers. You've got a lot of Western tourists. You can have a lot of fun over there, if you know what I mean. Holiday romances. You could have several a month. Well, not about several. I mean, I'm talking about 3 or 4. Anyway, you get what I'm saying to you. Now, the Philippines, to me, it's a relationship place. It really is. It's, I don't know why anyone, in my circle of friends, the lifestyle, as I say, maybe you're into hiking, maybe I don't really know any people like that because they don't move in the circles I am, but the few guys I know here who are single, they cut a lonely, they look lonely, you know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I mean, they're nice chaps, but every time you see them, they're half cut in the bar, knocking them back, you know. I think they're drowning their sorrows, to be honest with you. Nothing wrong with having a few beers. You know, I like to go out. I mean, I went out last night Shouldn't have done. Ellen's away, so I had a very late night with a couple of friends. I feel awful today. That will be me off the beer for at least 3 days. I won't go out drinking again, or out. I mean, I might go out to dinner with Ellen when she comes back tomorrow, but I won't drink. You know what I mean? I can't, I don't want to have that lifestyle anymore. But I do know people who do want that lifestyle. I know a lot of people in Thailand, and as I say to you, I think the guys who I'm talking about would be better off over there. Because Dumaguete is, you know what I mean, it is not a place, I don't think, for a single guy. Unless you are of a certain disposition, which the vast majority of us aren't, I don't think. Yeah, I do not think I would stay here if I wasn't in a relationship. And I said a friend of mine came over, the guy that left. He was the same. I've met a few guys that have come here. I knew a guy when I first arrived. He came a few months over, and he was a subscriber, Rob. He's back in Mexico now, Mexico. He came over, he wasn't going to be in a relationship, he was going to do this, he was going to do that, and he hit the town, and I went out with him a couple of times, and he was buying people drinks, and, you know, he was living the dream, he said in his mind. And I said to him a couple of times, if you carry on like this, mate, I don't think you'll last more than a couple of months. And he didn't, because it will wear thin in Dumaguete. You can have a great month here, say, because there are a lot of nightclubs that people don't know about. There are bars to go to, and there are things, and you can, as we were saying in the UK, large it, but it will wear thin after a while. The vast majority of people will end up in a relationship after a couple of months. And unfortunately, a lot of those people will just jump into a relationship with the first person they come across who wants a relationship. And a hell of a lot of the time, it won't work. It will end in tears. And a vast majority of those guys, or a large percentage, will leave the Philippines because of that. Many of them never to return. And their experience of the Philippines will be jaded. It will be negative because of their experiences. But had they made a better choice in terms of partner, I think a lot of them would still be here. I really do. And they would be a lot happier, potentially. As I say, you know, can't give you any advice on how to find the right woman. Cool, if I knew that, I'd be a very wealthy man. And if you haven't found the right woman, then, you know, and who says I have? You know, you don't know. Who knows what the future holds? Just making the observation that the happiest people I know in the Philippines, the ones that have lasted the longest, achieved the most in terms of chasing the dream, there seems to be one constant. They have found the right person for them. So if I was going to give you any advice, I would say consider that. If you're thinking of moving here and you want to make it your long-term home, the most important thing you can do is take time to find the right partner. Try before you buy, because if you get it wrong, you'll probably come to the conclusion that the Philippines was not for you, and your time here will come to an end. Well, there you go. That was it. I say it's, I think, common sense, really. You know, the key here, I think, is a good relationship. Gonna let this car park now, pass by me. They drive incredibly slowly in the Philippines, I tell you. Anyway, yeah, that's it. So take your time. Try and find the right partner for you. Because the Philippines ain't great if you're single. Certainly not Dumaguete. I know some people will say Angeles is, or, you know, Manila. Well, as I say, to me, if you're going to live that lifestyle, Bangkok's better, Patata's better. But there you go. Philippines can be a great place to live. I am thoroughly enjoying my time here, but big part of that is my relationship. So anyway, there you go. As I say, no groundbreaking observations. I am probably just stating the obvious. I think it needs to be said because it's a big decision and you want to get it right. You know, don't rush into the relationship. It's probably the biggest decision you'll make when you come to the Philippines, who you end up with. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, it would be fantastic if you did. But whether you do, whether you don't, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, stay safe, be lucky.